Sports listeners, I'm your host, Erica Salda, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
every single Tuesday.
This whole hour of Santa Barbara teen athletes. Woo! And we're talking all athletes. Good morning, everybody. What a wonderful morning. The last day of May. All day. Oh, God, it's been a crazy week, a sad week. It was an emotional week, really, for me. Of course, we had another crisis this last week, which affected our kids. You know, the most important thing on our planet is our children. You know how Teensportsradio looks at kids. That's all we do is support our kids. In the house, we're going to go around, talk about it a little bit. In the house, we have Christine Marie with A View from the Deck, Raya Carpenter, Don Sanders, our producer, Richard Dugan. We have Dominique Hackett. She's going to do a little hooga today. And then I want to start off with a really close friend of mine, Anthony Rodriguez, and he's the guy that I like to reach out to with all of his years and years of experience to try to get a handle of what the heck is going on. Anthony.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
We're all
I'm still in shock. I'm still in shock, to be honest with you. I'm still in shock.
With last week's school shooting in Texas.
For me, Anthony, the direction that I feel, and I'm not like really dialed into the news and everything, but I don't care. If you have a phone, there you are. You're not going to get a piece of what's happening. And then you've got your friends everybody wants to share their thoughts based on their life experiences. And I see it's going back into the whole gun control section. And I think that's not the root of all of these problems that we're having with people. And let's just focus on the mental health aspect of it. I don't want to get into a big, right to bear arms conversation. All right. So what are your thoughts, Anthony?
Well, my thoughts is, it is, all of this is going to be mental health. A lot of people are going to be extremely traumatized. With each incident that happens, there's a lot of trauma involved with it. Now, this is at a school. So since it's at a school, it's even more devastating. And the total amount of lives lost is just, it's heartbreaking. This shouldn't be happening, and we need to think about all the kids that are going to be afraid to go back to school next year, that sticks with them. So what parents need to do is, if the kids already know about the shooting, they need to talk to their kids about the shooting and, in the proper way. They, don't have them be watching TV all the time and watching the news over and over and over, because that's just re-traumatizing them over and over, and that will stay. Limit the amount of time that they're watching TV. If it comes on, talk to them about it. They will be a little bit more clingy, have a lot more patience with these kids, because they're scared. They don't know what's going to happen. They're going to have in their mind that it's going to continue to happen over and over again. And that's the thing with trauma. So parents have to be very, very aware of what's going on, how their kids are acting. If there's been a change in their moods, are they getting more angry or more sad or withdrawn? Talk to your kids. Don't be afraid to ask them questions. What's going on? What did you see? What did you hear? Because it makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference when you're not afraid to talk about things like that. And you have to be very, very open with the kids, but please make sure that you limit what they see, because it's extremely traumatizing.
Anthony, this is Dominique Hackett. Can I ask you a difficult question and see what your response to kids is? As a child, my first comment was always, why does God, the divine, universal energy, why do bad things happen to good people? How do you help people handle that?
Well, coming from a religious aspect, unfortunately, things do happen. And yeah, God, if you want to get really, I don't know if you really want to get in religion, but the way that I would tell it to my confirmation students or my first religious education students is the fact that, God gave us an opportunity to make our own decisions. Unfortunately, he knew we were going to sin. And that's what he gave us. And he gave us the opportunity to do what we wanted, but it was up to us to make the right decision. So, bad things, yeah, they do happen, but, you're never alone. There's a lot of resources here in the community. We have an awesome community that has a lot of mental health resources. We have websites that you can go on to and take a look and see how to talk to your kids. I actually sent that bunch of information to our food bankers for them to have it, because a lot of our food bankers have kids. And so I put a couple of resources together and sent it out, and just so they know that, we're not afraid to talk about it. We need to talk about this stuff. We need to address it. We need to figure out a way to minimize this and, minimize the trauma. I'm glad that there's a lot of support out there already, which will help, but this is it's devastating. It's completely devastating.
Raya, how did you feel? I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, we're all it was a week ago and I'm still in shock.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm still a little bit in denial about it. And the other thing is, I of course I get this, like, as an educator, this immediate response of how do we motivate people to keep working in education? It's already an underpaid industry. And it's like, where's the hazard pay in education, which is just like such a disgusting thought. You know what I mean? And I know that sounds very selfish when we are talking about children who have died. So that's pretty gross that I even said that. But, it's just,
we know, Ryan, everybody knows your heart, and you're just, hey, this is the beautiful thing. You have to talk about all aspects of what happened and the ripple effect thereof.
I mean, this is the reality.
So what do we want to do? Do you want to pack to go into work every day? Do you want to have a holster?
Right.
Do you want to, and then Dominique was doing a little deep diving, because we've been looking at all the different areas, and we're not taking a position. We're just having a conversation. And she just thought it was interesting.
I'm a pacifist,
right?
But it is interesting that the shootings are happening, I believe, at schools where there isn't like an armed guard or somebody present. And I don't know that that's the deterrent. It's something I don't have an answer to, but it is unique to the United States that we have school shootings. This is not something that happens all around the world. We as a society in America, we need to look at what the heck is going on, that we totally miss the mental health signs. And then we allow our most vulnerable populations to end up being the canary in the mine, where the canary in the mine, the idea is that the canary dies before the miners die. I mean, that's so sad in our society.
And then when you're looking at the AI that's available and all the social media, oh my God, if you said KILL. Okay. If you said that,
it should be coming up.
Why? Well, I don't understand. You can't say that and put it with president, or you get a knock at the door in minutes. Right. So I don't understand this. He actually advertised it.
Well, that's the question about, because I believe it was direct messaging. It wasn't public.
Yeah, it was direct messaging. So they weren't able to flag it.
Yeah. But there are other signs. So maybe, Anthony, you could help us with what are, especially now coming out of COVID, because a lot of us are actually more socially distant because we've learned to stay socially distant.
Right.
So what are the signs that we should be looking at in our friends, families, neighbors that, hey, someone needs a check-in and may be in, dire need of help?
Anthony, you say that, then I want Christine and Dawn and Dr. D. I want everybody to chime in on this before we go to break. Go ahead, Anthony.
Definitely, if there's changes in their moods, they get agitated more. They're being picked on. They get quiet, being laughed at. There's a lot of things that definitely can play a factor. You just have to keep your eyes and ears open. And if something doesn't feel right, then you need to question it. Especially with teens, they go through so much already in school. I mean, just the extra stress of being, different. It can definitely take a toll on you. And kids, if you guys see somebody that is, different and doesn't have any be friends, please take that time to be that good person and go up to them and say hi, befriend the person, because you know what, you never know what they're going through. And maybe you can definitely save a bunch of lives by doing that. Stand up, be the big person and make that difference. Because everybody needs it.
Christine.
Okay, so this is Christine Marie, a view from the deck, and I also work for Santa Barbara County Department of Behavioral Wellness. And I want to just offer, again, the 24/7 access line, which is 888-868-1649 for anyone who's having crisis. And then also there's a safety line for children specifically, and then a transition age youth, and that phone number is 888-334-2777. And I just have to say that when I first heard about this, and my first reaction is always not, control everything all around, but how did it happen that this child who's a young person, what happened to that child, that they were missed, that they felt that they needed to do this horrible act? And where is it that, there is this aspect of, I think years and years ago, Carl Jung said, there's going to be psychological crisis. It's coming. We need to start training for this. And people are training for it. And and I think we're in that time now where there's this incredible psychological crisis with human beings because we've separated from each other. We've been isolated. We always had community. And now our communities have changed, especially during COVID and all of this separation. So how do we reach out to each other and offer each other, see those signals and take action on those signals and find some way to avoid these situations? I think it comes back down to community, connection, and love.
Don Sanders.
Yeah, before it ever gets to that point that we've just witnessed, then dialogue, it's like people always know when somebody is forming into a pressure cooker in their midst, usually at work or at school. And if the kids aren't sensitive enough to it, then, the adults can monitor that sort of thing. And then, just engage and try and see if you can wake this person's spirit up to engage, like way before, there's horrible acting out. The philosopher, the psychologist William James said the most powerful thing we can do about stress is change what we're thinking about, and so how are you gonna, I remember mothers trying to engage and do that with bullies in my neighborhood growing up. It was pretty clear to everybody who needed the attention.
Yeah. Well, we have just stepping in Dr. Amy Salzman. I want to get her take on this conversation. I want to get her up to speed during break. Let's take a little break right now. And we've got Richard Dugan as well, right after these messages.
We are back, and this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica Salter, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
every single Tuesday,
9 a.m.
This is Erica Salter, the Queen of Teen. If you just joined us, you're a little late, but I'll clue you in on the topic. We're talking about that horrible shooting that took place a week ago in Texas in the elementary school, and all the loss of lives. And we're just going around the room here and seeing how we can develop a conversation or a dialogue coming just right out of the COVID. And for me, I'm the kind of person where I know where my weaknesses are, and I have always been really good at surrounding myself with people that were better than me in the areas that I was weak at. And I did that in school. I always did a group kind of thing. I got through life that way, pretty much. And I play a lot of team sports, and that carried over to that. And right now, out of everybody that we have in the room, having a Christine, having a Anthony, I would be bringing in Don Sanders, Raya, Dominique. I would honestly, if this happened and my kids were young, I would set up Zoom meetings with my close friends. Dr. Amy, I'd start with you probably. And I'd say, hey, this is what's happening. Can we have a little team meeting? And then I'll let Dr. Amy pull out my kids' emotions, because I'm not good at that, and I knew I wasn't good at it. My solution has always been, let's see how many, free throws you can make in 30 seconds. I mean, that doesn't work with everything, but that's how I would solve it. So Dr. Amy, help us out here. If anybody needs some help in this, I mean, do you offer stuff like that? I mean, I don't know. Just ask.
Yeah, well, I think actually, Erica, in a way, your free throw thing isn't the worst way to go. Like shooting hoops or doing the dishes, like not making it such a big deal and just saying, hey, is there anything you want to talk about? Did you hear? And then really our first job as grownups is to listen, and to listen to where they are, to listen to what's said, to listen to what's not said, to listen to underneath the words. And we don't, it's kind of by age group. So, we want to let everybody, but especially the young kids, know that despite how often this is in the news, it's really infrequent, and that it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel worried, that we feel sad and worried. Then it's really a matter of seeing where they are and answering their questions a moment at a time, being real. You don't need to have it all together. You don't need to pretend that you aren't sad or infuriated or afraid, because for them, seeing us be real can be super helpful as well. And it doesn't all need to get done in one conversation. It can happen over time. So you need to be looking and listening and reading for when they have had enough and when it's time to go do something else, and just to let them know that you're here to help them process when they're ready. And I wanted to go back to something else that you said. This is why I still want to do stress ed for every sixth grader and every freshman, because I'm not promising that we'll pick up all the kids who are so distressed that they want to harm someone else or harm themselves, but we'll pick up more than we're picking up now, and we can get them the support that they need. The gun safety is only half of the equation. And as I'm sure you discussed before I got on, because I was one of the late ones, it's still only half the conversation. The mental and emotional health and well-being is as important, if not more important.
Well, it's the root, right? I mean, we can get into why was he allowed to buy the gun at 18? We can get all that conversation, but the root is mental health. And we are not striving to, we have so much professionally educated people that can see these signs of, okay, that, because you said it perfect. We are going through a situation in our neighborhood with a family, and we were listening to a couple of patterns of behavior. And Dominique, you said it best, where they're getting, say it, doesn't when I'm mentioning names, where the child is
we could see that the child was in trauma, and we just advised the parents that it's now about the child. And so it's always about the children. It's always about the children. Everyone, it doesn't matter whether you have kids or not. Open your eyes, smile at people, look, see. It's always about the kids.
Yeah. We just want to always protect them because, again, they're our future. Doesn't make any sense. Dr. D, are you available?
Yes, I am. I am available. And I just wanted to say in regard to what we're talking about here in regards to the shooting. I mean, I actually got home. I had no clue. Now, you think that everybody's connected. I work for a news and information station. I didn't know until after 5 o'clock when I got home. And, my wife she's all physically upset. She picks up on this stuff long before it ever happens. And this is what's interesting. There's sort of a parallel going on here. And again, I won't get into the area. We want to stick with the whole issue of mental health. But There is a war going on against men, women, and children in Ukraine. Well, guess what? We have a war going on, and it's against our children, and they need to feel safe in these educational institutions. I'll be honest with you, I don't know that we heard of any mass shootings in schools during the lockdown because nobody was in school. I'm not saying that that's the direction that we need to go, but there's an interesting thing to observe. But it always has to come back to our mental well-being. And I know that a lot of people are struggling. You're not alone. So am I. Not just with this particular instance and all of the others. And I hear all the statistics of how many children we have lost over the last 10 or 15 or 20 years. And they always use that benchmark of Columbine. But I would think that we had those going on long before. I have to wonder how many adults are not feeling safe because we've had shootings at grocery stores, and here in Santa Barbara we had that shooting at the post office many years ago. And
well, Raya was bringing that up that we're so focused on the children and so forth. We have to also look at our educators and care for our educators.
But then it should trickle down because parents that are not dealing with this and emotionally going off the rails, and that's trickling down to your kids as well. Yeah. So then you're getting the kids are getting afraid just through your reaction. Yeah. So I've just tried to be silent, but try to being present.
And one of the other aspects, there's the phrase that is used. It's so cliche. I wish people would stop using it. I know that there is some truth in the phrase, but apparently our society doesn't really mean it when they say our children are our future. Our children, our future is being slowly eliminated one school at a time. I'm not saying we need to put up walls or barricades. I mean, that's sad. When I was going to high school, for example, there were no wrought iron fences around it. But only 2 years after I left school, wrought iron fence went up around the entire school. And that was 1980. So if they are truly our future, let's deal with this issue of mental health and wellness. We've got to get a handle on this, or we're not going to have a future because we won't have any kids.
And that's true. Yeah, and that's true too. The one thing that we forget is
that's what
we also have to train our educators. Okay, our educators need to be trained how to see the signs of a child that there's something going on. Whether it be home, whether it be school. But they need to be trained on the signs and what to look out for. And then also when something does happen, when the school brings in for example, for myself, when we responded to the May 23rd shooting at UCSB, we were the first ones on the ground. We were there for 3 months supporting the community of Isla Vista. Now, the educators, when somebody else is brought in, a team like myself, they have to accept us. They have to be the role model of accepting the help. Because sometimes we go to certain schools or we go to certain locations and we don't get we're not very welcomed by the main educators or the main people. So what do you think, how these other people that are suffering going to react to us? They're also going to feel the same way. So I think it's really important that we start educating people on the resources that we have, the reasons why certain teams go out, and like I said, we have to educate the school's staff on what to look out for.
Christine. I think it's also really important that we stay open ourselves into questioning what's going on here, not getting defensive. I think part of the thing is schools and teachers might say, no, we didn't do it. It's not our fault. And they'll get defensive and trying to protect themselves. This is a situation where culturally, on a broad scale, we all need to look at how we deal with things. It's not just at the schools. It's how we as human beings are dealing with each other. It's how we're connecting. And it isn't just about blaming other people and finding the fault. It's about, I think, acknowledging that we all have a responsibility for this as members of our community. And this is a symptom of what's happening in the world.
And you're absolutely right. We do have to take, we have to take a position as members of our society. You know, we are not an island, as Simon and Garfunkel said. We live in a society with everybody else, and everybody, we all know this, that we're all connected. And so we have to take responsibility we have to do something at some level. And I think that with this program, talking about it is one of those levels. The conversation has to continue on, and it is not about gun control or the Second Amendment. No, it's about our mental health and well-being. So I think that
we have to go to dial back into what Raya said. I'll tell you one thing. I got in trouble at school. By the time I get home, it was 10 times worse. So my family respected the teacher. And my kids went to St. Raphael's, the same thing. I get called into Mrs. Manning's office. You have this is not a good thing for you. So it starts with empowering parents. Stop with going there and, you know, what your rights are, and you're suing, getting all personal. And the teacher already has a hard enough job as it is. And I look at it as doing you a favor. Okay, look at it as doing you a favor. I mean, they're doing something that they're called to do. It's almost a ministry. Yeah. You know, and I reach out to really good teachers that we lose in the community for the simple fact that they're just burnt out. And, you know, a really good friend of mine, Joni Galvin, is trying to transition into another path in her life. And I wish her the best after 30 years. But, you know, she just found that she just couldn't do it anymore. That's not. And when you really love what you do, and I could see it in Raya's face and everything like this, I mean, you just don't look at what you're doing as a job. It's like, you know, Amy does it. Don loves what he does. Christine, everything. Don, we've got to take a break. What you got to say before we go to break?
The Interfaith Council has been formed in my community of Ojai. My wife and I are sitting on it, and they've been listening to the school district to identify some of these issues that they want to give more support to, because the educators and at the school, it's not enough a lot of times. So, you know, they've identified, you know, concern over substance abuse, bullying, displaced families, problematic behavior. And so we've organized a community event Sunday, June 2nd, to gather people from, you know, we're going to all the religious and other organizations to try and reach as many people as possible to have like a Love Thy Neighbor event. There'll be like music, speakers, and everybody's going to be sitting at round tables and eating. And then we want to have dialogue, just getting people talking.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds like a good thing. Let's calendar that. Take a little break. We've got Raya Carpenter right after these messages.
And this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica Salda, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
every single Tuesday,
9 a.m.
Welcome to Teen Sports Radio. If you're just joining us, I'm Raya Carpenter, owner of Balanced College Planning. We have been talking about some really important stuff related to mental health, and we're going to take a turn here, and we're going to focus a little bit on college applications. So seniors, that's not true. Juniors, rising seniors, you're about to be seniors. I would like to give you some encouraging words related to writing your college essays. Give lots of love to the college essay. The schools that you're applying to, they may require a college essay or they may not. So first, figure that part out. If you're in California and you're applying to the Cal States, they don't require essays. The UCs do, and lots of private schools do. So quick tips to help you reduce your stress and increase the quality of what you put together in an essay. First, I think this probably goes without saying, but make sure you are writing the draft of your essay on your computer itself. Save it to your computer, not directly into the application, because these applications, if they time out, you could lose all of your work. So you don't want to have that frustrating experience. In terms of topics, try and avoid some of these overused topics. So lots of stories come out about, triumph stories related to athletics or sports injuries and rehab, related to that sports injury, or how community service taught you an important lesson, in terms of serving others, or you overcame a challenge that wasn't really that challenging. So really think hard on that topic and get feedback from others, so that you can utilize this as an opportunity to stand out from the crowd. And then in terms of, thinking about, again, the topic, think about why colleges are even asking you to write the essay. So of course they want to figure out if you have, strong writing skills, but they also want to figure out, what are your values? What are you passionate about? And how are you going to contribute to the community on campus? So they really, truly want to just get to know you. And on that topic of getting to know you, be careful if you're going to write about a hero or somebody that you admire. Don't make the whole essay about that person. Make that a short part of your essay. They're admitting you, not your hero. And then another trap that students fall into is they rehash a list of activities from their resume. And that's just simply repeating information that the college already has. So of course, it's fine for you to take an activity that you're passionate about that's in your resume, but pick that one thing and go into depth on that topic. And don't just talk about what you've done, but be very clear about why. Why are you doing this thing? And that's really going to get to the heart of, again, your values, what you care about. Let's see, what else do I want you to know? Just, work on being concise, honest. Dominique, did you have a question?
Yeah, I know that there are a lot of how-to books out there. Is there a favorite book that you recommend to kids when they're writing their college essay? If they either need just a stirring of ideas or something to guide them regarding content to inspire them?
Yeah, great question. So I would recommend the Johns Hopkins admissions blog. There are sample essays on there, and they're so great. There was this one essay I read about a kid who decided they were going to try and grow strawberries in their locker at school. And so how quirky, and, you don't have to be inventing things or start nonprofits or any of that. But if you do something quirky, if you geek out on something, that's what you want to write about, right? And another thing that I highly recommend, there's this guy, his name is Ethan Sawyer, and he is the college essay guy. He's great. And what I love so much about him, he gives very specific, tangible skills, but he gives away lots of stuff for free. And so the college essay guy, go check him out. He's on YouTube. His website is loaded with all kinds of free resources. Two more quick tips, and then I'll wrap up here. Don't forget that colleges have this thing called the supplemental essay. And that is not a generic essay that goes to all the colleges you're applying to, but it's a very specific essay that goes to specific colleges. And oftentimes that is actually more valued than the generic essay that goes to all the colleges. Supplemental essay questions, look at those over the summer. And that's my last tip before I close out here is try and get this work done in the summer between 11th and 12th grade. That way you can kick back, relax, and enjoy senior year.
Fantastic. Well done. Very well done. I remember starting, my father gave me this tip. There was a book, I forgot what it was called, but it had every single quote. The big book was like this thick. And I always started my essays with a quote. So I don't know if that's still in or whatever. But
you know what? I'm glad you actually mentioned that. That is no longer in.
Great. Do not listen to the Queen of Teen. Listen to Raya Carpenter. She makes money doing this. I just want to give out what I did at 6. So I did that 40 years ago, which is outdated. Don't do a quote.
Right. The bottom line is that it's precious real estate. Very, very limited words. And so they want to know what your words are, what you think, right? Especially when it's the UC personal insight questions, you only get 350 words per question. And so, you don't have time to mess around with restating the question, quoting people and all of that. I also would like to give a plug to UCSB. They have on YouTube, UCSB for Me. And I really think that they outshine the rest in terms of tips on how to tackle their application, but also these short answer personal insight questions.
Have you ever read an essay that just knocked your block off?
I mean,
like something that you remember and it was 10 years ago. I mean, it was so, the reason why I even asked this is we do Santa Barbara Wellness Center is our nonprofit that Dominique and I started many years ago. And since the show began 2010, we always do the Ellen Manning Scholarship Fund with Joni's class. And it's in class, what is a Catholic education done for you? And how would you tell the next 8th grade class coming up? What words of wisdom would you give them? So we just recently read one and made 2 of the 5 board members cry. Mm-hmm. I have never read. And you know why? It was a different kind of essay because it was a tell-all. It was like naming 3 teachers and saying in kindergarten, I had this issue and these are the tools the teacher gave me. In this grade, this was my issues and this is the tools the teacher gave me. And she did it again in 8th grade. And I oh my God, I've never read an essay like that. Not ever. I thought it was to own it was instead of pointing fingers and, recapping things that you've heard and, Jesus and all this other kind of stuff. And this is to actually made it made me part of their problem and then the solution. I loved it.
Yeah.
Literally had 2 board members crying. I'm like, what is wrong? I didn't cry. I did pass the tissues. Okay. But I didn't cry. So, yeah.
Yeah. I would say that I've had some pretty fun essays that students have produced, really using their creativity and their imagination. And so I've been impressed by the way that they communicate and like being on a Disneyland ride and twisting all of that information into, looking at the computer graphics involved in that process, which is related to their career interests. So like this, they weave these things together.
Nice.
But I think that really what they need to do is ask for feedback and do multiple drafts to get to that beautiful stage.
Beautiful. All right, Raya, what's your phone number to get a hold of you? Really fast. We got to take a break.
Yeah. 805-455-6358.
We've got Christine Marie, A View from the Deck, right after these messages.
Well, now together we will stand, every boy, girl, woman, and a man. Together we'll stand, divided we'll fall. Come on now, people, let's get on the ball and work together. Come on, let's work together. Now, people, because together we will stand, every boy, every girl, and a man.
We are back, and this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica Salda, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
Every single Tuesday.
9 a.m.
Welcome back to Teen Sports Radio. This is Christine Marie with A View from the Deck, and we are going through views from the deck. Last week we talked about the Fool, taking a leap of faith. This week we're talking about the Magician. The Magician is the very first. The Fool is the 0 card. The Magician is the 1 card. The Magician is about taking that leap of faith, and where do you land? This Magician landed in the card that I have on the beach. In every tarot deck that I've seen, most every tarot deck, the Magician has all the elements at his or her is able to utilize all the elements in order to co-create, and they're usually pointing one hand up to heaven and another hand down to earth. And so it's about connecting heaven and earth. And when I look at this card, I look at it as a place of co-creation, not just creation, but co-creation, not just me, but me in co-creation, not just my will, but me in co-creation with thy will, which is my higher self, which is God, which is universal life, whichever your community, your symbol of that is. And to me, it's about aligning. And I think especially in these very difficult times when we're trying to make decisions and move forward in our lives, if we can step back a little bit from our ego and our personality and align with our spirit, the higher self, or God, and whatever that is, if that's our alignment, we can create different things in the world that's in the highest and best interest of everyone. So this is what I have to say about the magician. It's about, creating a world that takes not only our own perspective, but actually the higher perspective.
It's so interesting with the tarot cards to go from the point of the beginning, the Fool, to the magician. You usually, I think of the magician as someone who's accomplished, right? So right at the beginning of the journey, we have our opportunity to take our first steps, and we have a sense of, we know where we want to go. We want to go where we have the ability to co-create.
Nice.
Yeah.
Somebody want to get a hold of you and get a tarot reading. Christine, what do we do?
You can go to Paradise Found downtown in Santa Barbara on Anna Pamu Street, right across from the library. You can also go to their website, paradisefoundsb.com, and you can read more about me. You can also call me at 805-350-2705.
Nice. Christine did a whole wrap up with my son, my youngest, John, at a party that he had, kind of like a little gathering. It was before COVID. And she read for everybody. And it was great because I remember my first reading that my mom set up with all of my friends. And it was just an experience. Explain, we have like 30 seconds. Well, how can you define tarot?
I define tarot as, at least, with the major arcana, the 22 steps of the 22 cards, each is related to a Hebrew letter. And they represent all of the major milestones every human being goes through. And then the minor arcana, so there's two decks in the tarot, minor and major arcana. The minor arcana is the four elements. Earth, air, fire, water. And so these are all these different things that are happening around that. So it's things that are common to every human being. So when sometimes people will see a tarot reading and they says, well, that's for everybody, but not everybody picks the cards in a specific way. So these cards have messages for each person, and they're very archetypal, symbolic, mythological stories and stories heal. They help us heal. So it's really about, when I read, it's not about reading into anybody else's business. It's about aligning and helping each person see their own perspectives, clarify things for themselves, and move forward in a way using the images and the symbols and the archetypical messages of the cards.
Woo! Heavy. Let's take a little break. We got wrap up right after these messages.
Brazil. Back in the USSR. Way down in LA. Every day dancing in the street. Crossing China too. Me and you dancing in the street.
We are back, and this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica Salda, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
every single Tuesday,
9 a.m.
Hello, welcome back to Teen Sports Radio. This is Dominique Hackett with Santa Barbara Wellness Center. I just want to make a plug out there to our teens who may be the new voting teens. 18, you registered in time, and you have a ballot. I want to encourage everyone to vote. And what I mean by this is, sometimes I've had conversations with my kids, and maybe you don't like the topics or you don't like the candidates. I want to encourage you to fill out that ballot, because if you don't like the people that are there, there is a write-in option. Write in someone if you don't like it, but please vote. This is your voice in our democracy, which is a republic, but we need your vote. So teens, please take this opportunity. And we are so happy that you're joining our voting population.
Great. All right, Christine, what say you? Got a couple of minutes. Any plugs? We got 2 minutes.
Oh my gosh. Again, actually, I really do want to give out the mental health services phone numbers again for the access line, the 24/7 access line for anybody for this county behavioral wellness. That's 888-868-1649. And for the children in crisis, children and teens, it's the safety line, and they really help you find resources in the community and help you, get whatever you need. And that phone number is 888-334-2777. There are a lot of resources out there.
Thank you. Raya, any plugs?
No, I just want to repeat what has been said earlier in terms of engaging with people. Eye contact, hello, smile.
Yes.
You can do better.
Good.
Yes.
We've got that. Dr. Amy.
I was going to give a shout out to Annie McDonald and to Raya for sending her to me, and Annie's teammates who all came over for a photo shoot for my new and soon to be new and improved websites. So thank you, Raya. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, girls, for coming and participating. It was awesome.
Thank you. Don, we got to go. You want to just say one or two words?
Yeah. Don Sanders at donsmassageohio.com. Gratitude for family and for community. And world peace has to start at home.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, it's the last day of May. All right. Find somebody and hug them. All right. God bless you all. See you next week.
You're the best.